In 1912, Riverbend, Missouri was a quiet town where steamboats whistled through the fog and gossip traveled faster than the river's current. Children played in dusty streets, farmers worked from dawn to dusk, and life rarely changed until he arrived. A tall man in a faded gray coat stepped off the river ferry, carrying only a leather satchel and a polished mahogany camera strapped across his shoulder. His eyes were gentle but carried a weight, as if they had seen wars, losses, and the deepest corners of humanity. His name was Elias Crowe, a traveling photographer. No one knew where he came from. No one knew why he came. But in a small town hungry for stories, a new face was enough to stir curiosity and unease. Elias rented a spare room above the bakery and offered free portraits to anyone willing. Kids loved the idea. Adults, not so much. "Folks say a photograph steals your soul," muttered Mrs. Green at the general store. But when Elias developed his prints, people gasped. His photographs weren't normal. They felt alive. A shy girl named May looked confident in her portrait, her eyes shining with a future she didn't yet believe in. A grumpy old lumberman stared back at himself with warmth he never showed. "Your camera sees what others don't," the preacher whispered. Elias only smiled softly. "It's not the camera," he said. "It's the soul that speaks." Little Tommy Harlow, age 9, wandered town like a ghost since his father died in a logging accident. He rarely spoke, rarely smiled. His mother, worn from grief, brought him to Elias hoping for something. Elias knelt to Tommy's eye level. "May I show the world the strength inside you?" Tommy only shrugged. In the portrait, Tommy wasn't silent. His eyes were roaring, fierce, brave, determined. His mother cried when she saw it. That night, Tommy whispered to his mom for the first time in months. Maybe pictures could heal the broken. Mayor Caldwell didn't like change, or strangers, especially ones who became too popular too fast. He stepped into the bakery, towering over Elias. "We don't need your tricks here. Folks get funny ideas about themselves. This town deserves to see its worth," Elias replied calmly. "That's exactly what I'm afraid of." Threats hung heavy between them. Elias didn't flinch. The mayor stormed out, knowing control was slipping through his fingers. All because of one man and his camera. Mrs. Whitlock, draped in black silk, arrived trembling. She asked Elias to photograph the only picture ever taken of her husband, who died young. There was just one tiny locket-sized image left, fading, cracking. Elias studied it gently. "Do you wish to remember him smiling?" "No. I want to remember him as he was, alive." He recreated the portrait using shadows and memory. When the widow held the finished photograph, her knees buckled with emotion. "He looks like he's going to speak," she whispered. A living memory restored. Rumors spread that Elias did impossible things. To prove him a fraud, a group of boys stole a photograph from his darkroom, the photo he had taken of Tommy. But when they looked closely, they screamed. Tommy wasn't alone in the portrait. A man's silhouette stood behind him, the same frame, the same protective stance as his father once stood. The boys dropped the photo and ran. The next day, Tommy's mother came in tears. She believed the photo was a blessing, a message. Tommy was never alone. The truth whispered through Riverbend. He doesn't capture smiles. He captures souls. Elias kept to himself, nights spent developing photos under red lantern light. Sometimes people heard him speaking softly behind closed doors, as if comforting someone unseen. He carried a silver locket that he never opened. He wore his grief like a second coat. When asked why he traveled so much, Elias simply replied, "I'm searching for someone I lost along the way." And the town wondered, was he capturing souls because part of his own was missing? The kind old preacher asked for his portrait not for himself, but for his congregation. "My people need hope," he said. "Show them who I truly strive to be." When Elias revealed the print, the preacher stared and gasped. The man before him looked younger, stronger, filled with purpose. It wasn't just a picture. It was a reminder that faith still lived in him, despite his aging body. During Sunday service, he held the portrait high. "This man," he announced, "is the man God still calls me to be." The congregation cheered, spirits lifted through a photograph. A shy seamstress named Clara came to Elias with a trembling request. "Could you photograph me? Beautifully? I'm afraid the man I love can't see me the way I see him." Elias took her portrait with care. He captured her kindness, her hidden confidence, her love glowing like sunlight. She gave the photo to the blacksmith she'd adored for years. He stared, then hugged her tight and whispered, "How could I have been so blind?" A week later, a wedding proposal, and Elias was invited as an honored guest. Love revealed. Mayor Caldwell could no longer tolerate Elias's influence. At the town meeting, he slammed a photograph on the podium. "This man is deceiving you. He's playing with your minds and your souls." But the townsfolk defended Elias fiercely. "He showed me I'm worth something. He helped my family heal. He gave us hope." The mayor's face turned red with rage. "This ends now," he snapped. He issued a decree. Elias Crowe is forbidden from photographing anyone in Riverbend. The town gasped. Elias simply picked up his camera and left the hall in silence. But the mayor wasn't done. That night, the mayor's men smashed Elias's dark room window, threatening him to leave Riverbend forever. Elias sat alone, clutching his silver locket, his hand shaking. "If I leave now," he whispered to the unseen presence he always talked to, "everything I'm searching for slips away again." The river outside churned like a warning. Tomorrow, everything would change. Anger burned in Mayor Caldwell's chest, but his own daughter, Rosalie, quietly approached Elias one evening near the riverbank. "My father believes he's protecting the town," she said, voice trembling, "but he's hurting it instead." She held out a worn photograph of her late mother, the mayor's beloved wife. "Please," Rosalie whispered, "help him remember who he once was." Elias hesitated, but a soul in need could not be ignored. He agreed. Late that night, Rosalie led Elias into the mayor's study while Caldwell was away. Elias worked carefully, with respect, transforming the fading photo into a portrait glowing with love, warmth, and laughter lost to time. When Mayor Caldwell returned, he froze. His stern facade collapsed as tears spilled freely. "She was the light of this town," Elias said gently, "and she shines through you still, if you allow it." The mayor clutched the photograph to his chest, soul cracking open. For the first time in years, he felt human again. News spread fast. The mayor had cried. The same man who once showed no softness. People realized Elias wasn't a threat. He was a mirror, reflecting their truest selves. Neighbors gathered at the bakery and pleaded, "Elias, please stay. Don't let fear push you away. This town needs you." Elias looked overwhelmed, unsure if he deserved such kindness. The town made its choice. Riverbend would protect the man who protected their souls. For the first time since he arrived, Elias opened his silver locket in view of others. Inside was a photograph, a woman with soft eyes and a radiant smile. Her name was Lillian, his wife, dead 5 years. "She taught me," Elias confessed, "that the greatest beauty we have isn't seen with the eyes, but with the heart." It was her death that sent Elias traveling, searching, hoping to find pieces of her love in others. And he had. Riverbend slept soundly until frantic bells rang through the night. The river was flooding, violently rising from days of storms upstream. Homes nearest the water were swallowed in minutes. Elias rushed into the chaos, pulling a young girl from a collapsing porch, pushing others toward higher ground. Water roared like a beast determined to devour everything. Mayor Caldwell shouted through thunder, "We need more help! The preacher's trapped." Without hesitation, camera still strapped to his neck, Elias plunged into the torrent. Elias found the preacher lodged against driftwood and debris. He pushed him free, with one final burst of strength. But the current was merciless. Elias slipped beneath the surface. His camera tore from its strap and vanished. The last thing people saw was Elias swept away, swallowed by the Missouri River. By dawn, the waters calmed. Dozens survived because of him. The town lit candles along the riverbank, prayers carried on the wind. 3 days later, Tommy and Rosalie searched the river for any sign of Elias. Instead, they found his camera, wedged between rocks, dry inside, untouched. They hurried to the bakery where his dark room still stood ready. They developed the final roll and gasped. Among the final photos, a family hugging tightly, in fear, the preacher clinging to Elias, the little girl he saved Elias himself, waist deep in water, and behind him, Lillian, his wife, a luminous figure holding him, guiding him, not a ghost, not a shadow, a reunion. Elias wasn't alone, Tommy whispered. The entire town gathered to witness the photographs. It wasn't frightening. It wasn't dark. It was peace. Proof that love never dies, even in the deepest waters. Mayor Caldwell declared, "These photographs aren't a curse. They are a blessing." Elias saw the soul's truth because his own soul had known great love. The town vowed to honor him by living the truths his photos revealed: kindness, hope, courage, love. Rosalie turned the bakery's upper room into a gallery of Elias's portraits. People traveled from neighboring towns to see the pictures that felt alive. Families reunited, old wounds healed, dreams reignited. And in the gallery's center, framed in gold, Elias and Lillian, together in the water, smiling as if finally home. Below the frame, a plaque read, "He captured who we were, so we could become who we're meant to be." Riverbend found its soul that day. Years passed. Children grew up hearing stories about the mysterious photographer who turned strangers into believers. Tommy Harlow, no longer silent, became a photographer himself. Rosalie took over the gallery. The preacher retired with renewed faith. Even the mayor became a gentler man. Every new photograph Tommy made, he whispered, "For Elias." Because the greatest lesson Elias left behind was this: a photograph doesn't steal your soul. It reminds you you still have one. And so the man who captured souls, not smiles, lived on, through every person he ever touched, through every life he ever changed, and through every heartbeat that dared to believe again.